Alright, hello all you crazy people out there, my name is Dragonite, and welcome back to Harvest December. Yuki
Hey,
Nakahira squinted up at the lamps that lighted the street. She walked slowly, dragging her pace. A small child overtook her easily. She was carrying a paper bag filled to the brim with toys. Is that the squirrel kid? Yukari kept taking small, careful steps. It was almost unnatural. Nakahira? Masaki-kun? She spun around quickly, too quickly. Sorry, you've got the wrong guy. You're Toyama-senpai, right? Don't you remember my name? I suppose love is blind. You wouldn't have noticed anyone but Masaki. Kohai slanted his mouth. He wasn't offended that she seemed uncertain about his name. He was more amused. I'm sorry. I have to admit, if I only know your name because of Masaki too. I guess that makes us both. There was a stretch of silence. They were strangers after all, but they barely knew each other. Yukari looked down to avoid Kohai's gaze. She had just called him Masaki. It was easy for him to guess the situation. She kept her head down and wished he would just pretend he hadn't heard anything, seen anything. The way he would just walk away. You're impressive, you know that? She lifted her head in surprise. Do you mind if we chat a bit? Kohai looked serious. Are you feeling better now? Kohai pressed a can of coffee into her hands. She was sitting on the bench in the park. Although she had stopped crying, she was still sniffling now and then. It was just the two of them, casting a shadow under the dim lights. The sun had gone down by now. I think so, but it doesn't mean the situation has changed. But it isn't important to keep a distance too, so both of you can sort your feelings out. I suppose it would be if you were in a relationship on the long run. Yeah, I guess we don't have time. You're a straight talker, Toyama-senpai. I don't have much time left either. Yukari took a sip of her coffee she was cupping in her hands. It's bitter. You don't like it? It's just that canned coffee has a burnt taste to it. I guess I should have asked you what you wanted. Don't laugh at me. If you're able to complain about your coffee, you can't be feeling that bad. I do better now. True to her words, the weight she had on her heart had lightened the load a bit. It was important to keep a comfortable distance. They were a strange pair, Yukari thought. The boy sitting next to her, drinking happily his coffee, had no connection to her other than... The boy sitting next to her, happily drinking his coffee, had no connection to her other than that he was Masaki's friend. But she still felt comfortable with him, and wanted to stay a while longer in his company. It was the distance between the both of them that made her feel secure. Because they weren't close, she didn't have a reason to get angry at him. And even if she said something wrong, it wouldn't matter to him much. She studied Kohai's face. The only thing she knew about him was how he had often seen with Sane Marino, his senior. Why... The only thing she knew about him was that he was often seen with Sane Marino, her senior. Why did you say I was impressive? What did you want to talk about? Yukari finally asked, breaking the silence. How do you do it? Deciding to go for what you want so directly? He asked without looking at her. Even if a girl I liked agreed to date me for a limited time, I don't think I could do it. I think I'd keep on being uncertain about it. You don't look like the sort. Excuse me, I'm sensitive. He joked, but his eyes weren't laughing. The thing is, I have to be certain. You're talking about Marino-senpai. Sane is transparent about her feelings. And I like her too. So what was the problem? Yukari cocked her head, not understanding why he looked so troubled. There's no problem at all, except that she's so heavy. Can you explain? If I decided to be with Sane, it means I'd have to run the shop with her. I'd live my life in this town forever. My future would be decided. But if you love her, is that going to be a problem? What does love have to do with how you're supposed to live your life? If Masaki told you to live your life with him, to leave your life to live it with... If Masaki told you to leave your life to live it with him, what would you do that? Would you do that? I would, but that's not going to happen. Sorry. A pregnant silence. Yukari waited for Kohai to speak his mind. I guess it's alright if you walk into it willingly. The problem is that I feel Sane is a burden. Is that why you're keeping a distance from her? I promised her that I'd give her an answer in the winter. If you're uncertain, it means that you have other options other than her, right? She didn't need to wait for his answer. It was obvious by the way he reacted. How dare you? Nakahira. Kohai watched Yukari as she got up from her seat. From his expression of alarm, she could only guess how angry she looked. You're a fake. You don't really love Marino-senpai. Listen to yourself talk about weight and burdens and whatever. Maybe you think you love her now, but with time you'll forget about her. That's all she's worth to you. But I don't even have the luxury of time to think the way you do. That's pretty amazing too. What is? The way you can simply finish a relationship in a set time frame. Because I'm going away. I'm leaving. It's not as if you're going to die. That's... Why didn't she think of that? She took a deep breath. Thank you. You've helped me notice something important. She was wrong. Keeping her distance didn't mean the conversation wouldn't matter that much. Yukari turned away from him. If the burden is too heavy for you, you could find something lighter that you think you could carry. She began to walk away. Then again, you could just give up and get crushed by all the weight of it. She kept going. But you should know that no girl in her right mind would love anybody like that for long. Her footsteps gradually faded into nothing. Kohai leaned back against the bench with a sigh. I'm such a wimp complaining about my problems to a younger girl. He shook the remainder of the drink in his can. Anything too light wasn't enough. Anything too heavy and it would be a burden. Just right. Everyone suggested that so easily. He swallowed the last of his coffee. Ugh, that's bitter. Time was passing. I love you, remember that. How long have I been recording? 6 minutes. That's shorter than 7 minutes, I'll keep going. And so the day came. Additionally, the chapters in this month don't seem quite as long as the chapters in the last month. So that's something too. Is that all you have? I pointed at the bag she had by her feet. This is the train station setting, right? It lay there carelessly on the thin white line painted on the platform of Tagami train station. It was terribly small to have contained all of her belongings. Everything else has been sent by mail. Dad and Mum are already packing things at our new place. If you need help, Masaki-chan and I can just go over to help out, you know? It's a bit far to ask you to come, but thanks for the offer. If anything happens, call me anytime. Thank you, Nuki. That's what friends are for, you know? They smiled at each other. Yukari turned to me. I'm a bit hungry, so I'm going to go to the kiosk to grab a bite. Nuki? I tried to stop her, but she ran up the stairs before I could. But there isn't a kiosk in Tagami Station. I guess she wanted to give us some privacy. I know, but it was too obvious. We shared a private laugh. Can you say I'm sorry to them? Are you talking about Yuki and Shiro? Towada-senpai, Shiro-sama, everybody. I did do something selfish, and I took you away from them. I did say some terrible things, too. They asked me to run after you that day, you know. I really wanted you to. Yukari laughed as if she was talking about something that happened long ago. Nakahira-san, It's time. We both looked at the clock hanging from the ceiling. I could hear the train coming from afar. 1 month went by so quickly. Yeah, I thought so too. The speakers crackled as the station master announced the train's arrival. Then all the sound in the background faded away, right? Only Yukari mattered now. Misaki-kun, I hoped you'd at least feel sad that I'm going. Her tears spilled over and ran down on the hard floor. The people around us made a space, avoiding the drama. This is it, our last moment together. The very last. I hoped you'd act differently. I guess I can't change who I am. I know, that's who you are. But I was hopeful that maybe I could change you. That usually doesn't work. That's like common knowledge. Just tossing that out there. She lifted her face. It was strewn with tears and she looked terrible. I almost looked away. It doesn't sound like a big deal. I willed myself to keep my eyes on her. Because all this, her tears, her hurt, everything was because of me. It wasn't good or bad, but just reality. It is a big deal. Neither Towada-senpai nor Shiro-sama could do it. Then why did you think you could? Because I'm me. She said it with conviction, but I didn't understand what she meant. Another announcement came from the speakers. The sound of the train coming drowned out our voices. So, can't we continue this? She grabbed the fabric of my shirt, pressing my chest. Toyama-senpai gave me the idea. Her small hands had a surprisingly strong grip. It was almost intimidating. She wasn't holding on to me. We could continue a long-distance relationship. She was hanging on to me. We could phone each other, email each other. I could work part-time and save money to come see you. There are so many ways to do this. She pulled me forward. We could choose to keep a relationship if we want to. That is a telephone! The train slowly came to a stop. Why did all these girls choose me? How are they able to jump over all the obstacles to be with someone so easily? I was being arrogant again. I didn't want to feel this way. Yukari was crying before me. Even the way she cried was adorable. I wanted to reach out to her and tell her it's alright, coax her so she could be happy again. I knew she wanted me to do that. I had power over her. She was obedient, sweet, and adorable. The complete opposite of Yuki and Shiro, who would fight to dominate my soul. She was all I ever imagined I wanted in a girl. I needed her because she was ideal. Which was why... It's a possibility. Then... Here comes the train. But we're out of time. The train was waiting. I took her hands and pulled them off my shirt. Tell me why. You know why. That's unfair. I need to hear it. I didn't want to say it. It was hard. People began pouring out of the train. Yukari, you're so clumsy. You're skitterish, you talk too much for when you're flustered, you're small, you're frail, and... Those are all my awful traits. That's what made you adorable. You're terrible, Masaki-kun. You said that knowing it would make me happy. But that's why you aren't right for me. The train was completely empty now, waiting for its new passengers. Oh. Yukari let out a breath and picked up the bag by her feet. I knew you'd say that. I told you you knew why. But I still had to hear it. But. We knew how this would end from the start. It didn't matter what we thought now. A promise was a promise. There was a possibility of a future Yukari wanted. I could simply follow her on the train and tell her I wasn't going to leave her. So it's either Towada-senpai or Shiro-sama. But I wouldn't. Yeah. So this is how it would end. If I were alone, I may have thrown a tantrum. Maybe there was a better way. I kept disappointing girls that cared. I couldn't stand myself. I guess I'd better go. Yuki glanced behind.
Hey.
The train driver was resting his chin on the steering wheel, pretending he wasn't aware of us. It was past the scheduled department time. Yukari stepped on the train and faced my way. The train driver looked relieved and got ready to depart. I'm going to leave you with a problem. What? She grabbed hold of my cheeks and forced me into a kiss. It hurt. She crushed her lips between mine hard for the first and last time. It was a desperate goodbye kiss. I felt her tears run down the tip of my nose into my mouth. That is a little too much information. I landed on my bottom. You idiot, stay strong. Yukari laughed, her hands still outstretched before her. Yukari! I got up, stretched my hands out towards her. The doors closed. Our hands met in a cold, hard glass. The train left. Yay! That's one headache that I almost said but that Masaki doesn't have to deal with anymore. Anyway, I'm going to end this off here. I would love to finish up September in this recording session, but my throat is already going to be non-functional tonight as it is, so I better stop. My name is Dragonite. I hope you all enjoyed that, and I will see you all later.